All right, guys. So today we're going to do the second lesson in this unit on our representative democracy. Okay, that's going to be specifically what we focus on today. So we looked at the founding documents so far. Now we're going to actually look at our democracy. And you'll hear people say, well, we don't have a democracy, we have a republic. We do have both of those things, a democracy and a republic. Specifically, we have a representative democracy.
Submit assessment.
All right, what does that mean? Let's look at it. So before we do, let's think about what is a government and why do we need one? Well, a government is just a system for making decisions and making sure that everyone follows those decisions. And it uses a political process. So like in your house, you probably have a way that decisions are made, right? And aren't you glad? Can you imagine if there was no way that decisions were made? Like what's for dinner? And there wasn't really anybody to decide and you didn't really know how, like who's going to cook, who's going to do what, who does the laundry. You need a system. But in your house, there's probably an adult that gets to make the decisions. And in the government, how do we know who gets to make the decisions? Well, there's a political process. So we have politics. And politics just means the process that we decide how the government does things. And we talked yesterday, or whenever it was, last week, about different ways that politics can look and how throughout the past we looked at different forms of government that maybe helped our government be what it is today. And so, but every country has some type of government, okay? There's lots of kinds of governments. And even like democracy, there might be different types of democracies. Like I said, ours is a representative democracy. It's not a pure democracy. In other words, like we talked about, we don't, every single person doesn't vote on every single thing, right? We get to elect people to help make the decisions for us. But the reason every country has a government is because governments do two things. They provide order and they take care of the people. We would have chaos without government. There would be no laws and people would do whatever they wanted to do. Okay, government provides schools and it provides the army, provides the firefighters. There's a lot of pictures I should have included that I didn't. Provides the police officers. And in some countries, it provides the doctors that take care of you. Oh my goodness, I'm forgetting some things. It provides the post office workers. I'm forgetting things. The government provides so many things for us. But it's really us providing those things for us because in the United States, the government is of the people, for the people, and by the people. It's us. We'll talk more about that, okay? But the laws are really important. The laws that we pass keep us safe. They're not there to punish us. Laws like speed limits and traffic lights. Right now, we're talking about masks. So there's laws that say we have to wear masks. These are laws that keep us safe. They're not there to punish people. And in the United States, not every country, but in the United States, the Constitution, which is like that really important document that says what our government is going to be like, it says that the main job of the government is to defend the people. So of all those things I said, the police and the firemen and the teachers, the roads and the post office, all of those things, the most important is the soldiers for the government because, and not just the soldiers, but all the things that go with the military, because keeping us safe and defending us is what the Constitution says the government is supposed to do. Okay? So when they were deciding, we call them our founding fathers because they started our country. When they were trying to decide what to do, right? Because they had traveled across the ocean, or maybe their families had, and they were living in one of the 13 colonies, and they were really unhappy with the treatment from Great Britain, and they didn't know what to do. They wanted to break free from Great Britain. So what did they do? That was the cause. They wanted to break free from Great Britain. The effect? They wrote something called the Declaration of Independence. Declaration, I see the word declare, and I know independence means freedom. The Declaration of Independence was when they declared that they were free. Thomas Jefferson wrote that. Remember, we talked about. He was so proud of that document when he wrote that. Even when he passed away, on his gravestone, like the marker where you can go visit even today, it doesn't even say president. It says author of the Declaration of Independence, because he knows that when he wrote that Declaration of Independence, it was what started this great nation that you get to enjoy and that I get to enjoy. Okay? But they had to fight in order to make it actually happen. We were free when we wrote it and when we signed it. But Great Britain didn't really just agree to it. They weren't happy about it. So let's watch this little video.
Oh, good job. Okay. So where it says search for your school, I want you to type in Tillis, there it is, right up top. So click on that and then press enter. Log in with your email address. There you go. That's the one that always gets everyone confused. Okay. Do you see this iStation? And you can type it into the chat. Okay, don't click on it yet. Did your chat run away and hide from you? No, don't go to messages. That's a different one. Okay, go back to your search bar. There, that a girl. Good job. Okay, you've got back to your iStation. Okay, go ahead and stop sharing your screen with me for a minute. Okay. So here's the first thing that you need to know. Okay. When you were sharing your screen with me, your Chromebook said that it needed to update. Did you see that little number 5 down at the bottom?
Oh my goodness. Okay. So we had to fight for our freedom and we earned it. And after we got free, we still needed to come up with this new form of government. And so eventually, not at first, but eventually the Constitution was written. And here's the thing. It was very important that this new form of government would be what they call of, for, and by the people. What that means is this: the power had to go to the people. They had been ruled by a king, and the king had the power. They didn't want another king. Even if it wasn't going to be called a king, they didn't want another person to have tons of power over them. They didn't want any single person to be in total charge. They wanted the people to rule themselves. And so they came up with the Constitution. No one could have too much power, so they decided there would be what we call 3 branches of government. See the tree? The branches. Let that help remind you that they're called branches. 3 branches of government. Okay? The 3 branches of government are the legislative, and these are hard words, okay? See if you can say them with me. Legislative, judicial, and executive. Legislative, judicial, executive. Okay? Not any one of these is any more important than the other branch. You probably recognize some of these people, and some of them you don't. But there isn't any one person on here that that is the one ruler of the whole country that has more power than the other branches. You probably recognize, maybe you see Donald Trump or Joe Biden. These are the most powerful people in the world, it could be argued, but even they have these other two branches that are in charge of them. Let me tell you what I mean by that, okay? It's very important. Let's start here with the legislative branch, okay? The legislative starts with L and law starts with L. These people in the legislative branch pass laws. And within the whole United States, there are many, many legislatures, okay? Many, many legislatures. Arkansas gets to vote on the ones that we send to Washington, D.C., and every state gets to send some legislatures to Washington, D.C., and all those legislatures from all of the states work together and make the laws for the United States. Okay? Now, bigger states get to send more, and smaller states send less. But don't worry, because they can pass a law, but then it goes to the Senate, and in the Senate, okay, every state gets the same number. So there's a lot of ways they kept it very, very fair. Okay? So here's the thing. Let's pretend like they wanted to pass a law that takes away your right to do something that you should have a right to do. Like, let's say your right to go to church or your right to, we'll say go to church, okay? There are certain rights that in the Constitution that they included. As soon as they passed that Constitution, right after they did that, they included something called the Bill of Rights. And they included 10 rights that every single person gets. And none of the laws can take those rights away from you. Okay, so later as you get bigger, you'll learn what those rights are. Now, like the right to stay up till midnight, for a kid to do that when their mom tells them not to, that's not included in the Bill of Rights. Sorry to tell you. But there are big deal rights in there, and none of the laws that the legislative branch passes can go against the Bill of Rights. So, like, they can't tell you can't go to church. They can't tell you can't have a gun. They can't tell you can't, I can't think of certain ones. Now, they can pass laws that still protect us, and so there are laws they can pass, but they can't go against the Bill of Rights, okay? But let's say that they try to pass a law that does go against the Bill of Rights, okay? It takes away one of our rights. Like, maybe they say that anybody who's named Jennifer can't wear shoes ever again, okay? That's kind of not a fair right. That's not a fair law. So the judicial branch, the judges, and the highest judicial branch would be the Supreme Court, okay? And there's lots of judges. The judicial starts with J, judges, think judges. The judicial branch gets to decide if it goes against the Constitution or not, if it goes against the laws that we already have or not, okay? So we have judges even down in Fort Smith, Arkansas. We have judges. But the main judges that are the most powerful are in Washington, D.C., and there's 9 of them, and they're the Supreme Court. This lady here, we'll just call her RBG for now because you don't have to learn her. She recently passed away, and this lady down here, we'll call her ACB. She is going to become the new judge that takes her place, okay? So I think that's kind of neat that a female is taking her place, and it's very exciting, I'm sure, for her to start a new career here as the top judge in the land. And now, she's not the only one. She's on a team, okay? And this lady over here, her name is Nancy Pelosi, and she is the boss of the legislatures, okay? So, but even she can't make laws that go against the Constitution. So, the judicial branch. Now, we also have the executive branch, and they enforce the laws. So they have to make sure that the money is being spent in the right places to help the people do the jobs that they need to do. And they have lots of jobs. I'm probably saying that wrong because I'm trying to kind of hurry through this, but they enforce the laws through policy. And there's a lot of ways that the executive branch can tell the legislative branch, no, I don't like that law. I'm not going to sign it. They have to sign the laws. And they actually get to pick the judges. Now, the judges don't ever get replaced. They get to stay judge for the rest of their life. But then if one of them passes away, like sadly what happened with RBG here, then the executive branch gets to name the new judge. But in order to keep him or her from naming a judge that would be not very fair, the legislative branch has to vote and approve and say, yep, that's a good choice. So do you see how these all work together to keep no one person from being too powerful? They all have to work together. So here you see Donald Trump, and he was the president, and Mike Pence was the vice president. In fact, he still is the president, and Mike Pence is the vice president. And Joe Biden was running against Donald Trump, and this is his person that was running with him, Kamala Harris. And we're going to talk a little bit about what happened in their election here, okay? So what happened was there are two sides to this story, but let's look at this map of the United States. You can see blue and red. The red are the states that voted for Trump, and there's Arkansas. More people in Arkansas voted for Trump, and more people in the blue states voted for Biden. But in California, there's a whole lot more people than are in Arkansas, so it wouldn't be very fair if Arkansas had the same number of votes as California, because then every person wouldn't have the same number of votes. So if I counted each person's vote in all of the United States, Biden got more votes. And if I counted the states and they give them like different points so that the states that have more people get more points, if I added all that up, you can see Biden got 290 points. This is with the Electoral College, and you'll learn more about that as you get older. And Trump had 214, so Biden won. Biden won the election, okay? So here's what Biden says. Biden says, we did it, y'all. Biden-Harris, Biden wins. The voters decided, right? More people voted for Biden. In the Electoral College, he won. Voters choose. So this is what Biden says. Now, Trump disagrees with that. He says that it wasn't fair. One of the reasons he says it wasn't fair was he thinks people, maybe by voting through the mail, there might have been some mess ups in some places. So what he gets to do now is he doesn't just get to say that it's not fair and then stay president. That wouldn't be right, huh? If he says, hey, that's not fair, I'm going to stay president. That's not how it happens in the United States. But what he does get to do is go to the court, and he gets to go to the court within each state. So I don't think he's saying it's not fair like every single state. He's probably not saying it's not fair in any of the red states, but he's picking certain blue states and saying it's not fair in those states. And then like maybe Pennsylvania here, PA, he's going to go to Pennsylvania and he's going to do what's called file a lawsuit. And he's going to go to them and say, I don't think it's fair. And you can't just say it's not fair. You have to have evidence. So if he has evidence, then they might do something like recount the votes, or, I'm not really sure what they'll do, but there's, maybe they'll, he's going to try to still win by taking it to the court system. But because we have the three branches of government, like what we talked about here, he doesn't get to just stay in office. He gets to take it to the court system to try to make his case. Now, I put this picture in for the court system because if you ever see this picture, notice she's blindfolded. This is Lady Justice. It's a picture we have that represents Lady Justice, and she's always blindfolded because whether it's the President of the United States or somebody that's homeless. The judges are supposed to listen to what they say and not show favoritism. They're not supposed to show that any side is better than the other side. They're just supposed to weigh it out, like this is a scale, and see which side is better. So if the evidence that Trump brings makes the judge think, I agree with Trump, then, they'll give Trump what he's asking for in that particular state. And even that would not necessarily make Trump win, because that would just be depending on the state. And as you can see, Joe Biden had a lot more votes than he needed to win. So it will just kind of depend on what's going to happen. So I just wanted to show you that, since it kind of connects to what we're talking about a little bit, so that you are aware of what is going on. Today is November 9th. Now, November 10th, it could be very different. Normally what happens is the person who gets more votes says that they won, and the person who gets less votes does something. They come out and give a speech to congratulate the other winner. I've seen this happen one other time before with Al Gore and George Bush with Florida, but it was a lot shorter than this. Yeah, it was a lot shorter than this. So we'll see. Okay, guys, thank you for listening. Don't forget, we have a representative democracy. Okay, bye.